Okay, I believe we are now recording. So, welcome to today's album review. Today, we are going to be reviewing an album by Harry Styles. I've actually forgotten to get the message up on the comment, which is a bit of a mistake on my part. So let me just quickly try to find that. So, Brett, we have done a Harry Styles album before. Do you remember anything about it?
Yeah, I think from what I remember, I quite liked it. To be honest, I remember more your opinion on it rather than my own opinion on it. I remember you not being a massive fan of it, but I think because I was familiar with a couple of songs on there already, I kind of knew what the vibe was going to be, and I think maybe your conception was going to be sort of old Harry Styles One Direction thing, which it wasn't. It was very American and I wouldn't say artistic, but it wasn't One Direction style, and I think that sort of hindered what you were expecting, your expectations of it. So, but I think I remember I quite enjoyed it. But yeah, that's your opinion stood out more for me.
Yeah, I don't remember the album, like the songs on it, but I do now that you come to mention that. Yeah, I was hoping for One Direction. It wasn't One Direction. It was it? Would you say it was psychedelic?
It did have elements of that. It did have that sort of British Pink Floyd.
Yeah, which I don't like.
To it in a way, yeah.
Yeah, so I was disappointed by that album. So let's see what this one is about. So let me just share the screen to show you, which I've now managed to find, the comment from one of our regular contributors, Will CD. So do you think, if you reviewed the two next albums, Fine Line and Harry's House, in all three albums, the debut album was my least favourite album. I'm not sure. Is that the one that we did? Maybe.
Yeah, that was the one we did.
Oh, okay.
It was called Harry Styles or something like that, I think.
Okay. His new album, Harry's House, was my favourite Harry Styles album. Well, Harry's House we'll do another time. So Fine Line was his consecration. What does that mean? As a solo artist, and became huge with the iconic and huge Adore You and Watermelon Sugar. Not sure I know those songs. Maybe when we listen to it, I'll know. The two most iconic songs of the album. The album retains the sound of the first album. That's not good. But also adding R&B in his work. That is promising. Okay. Golden was my favourite song of the album and his best opening song of his three albums. Okay, so there we go. So let's have a look now at the Wikipedia thingamajig. So again, I'll just share the screen. So here we go. It's his second album. The album's themes revolve around breakups, happiness, sex, and sadness. The record has been described as pop rock with elements of progressive pop, psychedelic pop, folk, soul, funk, and indie pop. So quite a bit going on there. Not overly long, 46 minutes, 37 seconds. We won't go through all of this. We'll be here forever. So just having a look at the songs. Has won some awards there, or nominated for some. It's won a few of them. These are the tracks. It's 12 tracks in total. Any songs there you recognise?
Yeah, for me personally, I know Watermelon Sugar, and I know Falling, track number 6. Again, I get the feeling of a couple of others that were released ones. Maybe if I hear them, probably will recognise. But those are the two I definitely know, that I definitely recognise.
Was Falling one we did of we did a reaction video, yeah. and it was a cover version?
Yes, we did, yeah, absolutely. Did
I like it?
You did actually.
Okay, yeah, I seem to vaguely remember that I liked it, but I said I didn't know the original by Harry
No, I
Styles.
think I remember what I said was that the cover was pretty much a copy of the original.
So that'll be interesting to hear because I did like that version of it, and I haven't heard the original of it, so that'll be my chance to hear it. So yeah, I don't know, I don't recognise any other songs on here, but again, once I listen to it, I might know them. So I don't know what to think of this one. Especially what the comments said, it kind of has the same sound as the previous one, but with some R&B added in. And I'm quite hopeful for track 6, Falling. So yeah, might be okay. But I won't get my hopes up too high. What about you, Brett?
Yeah, I kind of know what we're getting into with this one here. I'm kind of looking forward to that because I did enjoy the first one because I knew what that was going to be all about as well. So I like to think maybe, especially with what Will will say, you know, out of the 3 of these albums, the first one was his least favourite. So again, don't want to put too much pressure on it, but hopefully I'd like to think this is like a slightly better version of the first album. But it's all opinions, it's all different tastes there. So we'll get to see. But the 2 songs I do know, I do like. So I'm already probably in the plus at the moment.
Okay, so we're going to head off and listen to it, and we'll be back with you guys in just a second. So see you soon. Okay, and hello everybody. This is the continuation of the album review. We've now listened to the album. So Brett, we'll go over to you first. What did you think of it?
All right, so I'll go straight into things and say I really like this album. This is a typical sort of album I think would kind of lie. It's really hard to sort of try and explain with this one here. So some of the key points for here. So it's a good length, so it's not too long of an album. It's a nice sort of pop album. But what I would say is it's not, you know, it's not, you know, hitting out with like memorable pop hits on this one. I think all the songs varied, but were just good, nice songs. I don't really think it'd be very hard to sort of dislike a lot of them. And I remember from the comment we had saying in comparison to the first album, where the first album was a bit more psychedelic, a bit more experimental. This had tiny elements of that, but definitely not as much. It definitely felt a lot safer. But as I say, I think it just had that sort of just right amount sort of variation. It was just a nice, enjoyable, solid album to listen to. I think that's what I'd say, Dan. I think maybe as we go through the songs, we can delve into it a bit more. That's sort of hard to say any more than that, really. And I think that pretty much sums up the album. I think it's just is what it is. It's just a good, easy, for me personally, good, easy album to listen to.
Okay, so for me, I've written down here in my notes quite listenable songs. I thought there was a fair bit of variety on the album, without a doubt. For me, there's one standout song, which I won't name. We'll get to it later. Quite a few very listenable songs. However, there were a number of disappointing songs for me as well. So from what I remember of the Harry Styles album, which I think that was just the name of it, yeah, this is definitely better. So, yeah, that's how I would sum it up. I don't know. I found myself preoccupied doing something online. I don't know. I was browsing something, so I wasn't like overly concentrating on the songs, whereas maybe normally I do. But maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. I don't think I can explain it. I think sometimes if you kind of focus so much on the songs, then it can be a bit of a negative. So maybe the way this actually worked out, it's actually probably not a bad thing. So maybe I don't have quite as much to say on each individual songs as maybe I would normally have. But let's go through each one. So the first song was Golden. So first kind of thing that comes to mind. It was the first song on the album. I just put straight away, feels more mature than One Direction. I have an association with Harry Styles. I have an association with One Direction for obvious reasons. So that's not to say that, he should be singing like One Direction now as a an artist in his own right. Of course, he doesn't need to be doing that. And yeah, I don't think this was particularly like One Direction. The song itself didn't actually make much of an impression on me. It wasn't bad, and it wasn't great either. So maybe like what you were saying earlier, songs were not so memorable as such, but yet there was nothing wrong with it. It was just okay for me.
Yeah, I'll probably say that's probably going to be the summer for a lot of these songs that we're sort of going through. And like I said, I don't want that to come across as a real negative, because I actually think it's quite good. And as we've done a lot of these albums now, and there's been so many albums where we either felt it maybe tried too hard or there's too much going on. And actually to have an album that's, even though it wasn't, stand out with a lot of his songs, memorable in those regards, like this first song, which I actually did quite enjoy. I think it's quite good that it's able to be a good solid album throughout there. So I've just played sort of a nice sort of opening song, very toe tapping early on. Just as it's called being, it's just a really nice, good sort of interesting opening, good song to listen to. And yeah, your point, I think we said this on the first album as well, where obviously you were probably expecting from the last album a bit more sort of Harry Styles One Direction kind of thing, and realise obviously he has matured and different there. So I think maybe, your sort of expectations are different for this one here. But we're definitely still seeing that maturity in these first sort of songs and towards the end of the album as well. And so I quite liked it.
Okay, so the second track was Watermelon Sugar. I think this is the one you said you knew. It was a release track, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So I didn't know this song. I thought it was slightly better, perhaps, than the first song we just listened to, Golden. Again, not bad, but not stand out for me either.
Yeah, and I would probably be agreeing with you if it's probably also the first time I heard it. I think the benefit of, hearing it a bit before on like things like social media pages, you get more familiar to it, and obviously then sounds there. So I think, and again, with a lot of the songs I have made that other sort of comparison where I feel like you probably need to know them a little bit better, because I said they're not standout pop songs that I'm going to remember from the start. I think they're what we would call like grower songs. You kind of need to maybe listen to them in different settings or a few times to sort of get them from there. But as a song, because I said I'm more familiar with it, really like it. As I've said, there's sort of a bit of a grower from there, and just has that, even though he says it in the lyrics, I think pretty much, but yet you've got this image, being in a sort of summer evening, as he says, nice sunset going on, drinking a cider, just in a nice relaxing. It just has that kind of feel to it from it. So yeah, one of my preferred songs on the album.
So next up was Adore You. I found this to be a very similar style to the previous two songs, and I have the same opinion of this song as well. It's just, all right. So yeah, out of those first three songs, I didn't mind any of them. They're all right, but like I say, none of them took my breath away or anything like that. So like I say, I was preoccupied doing something, reading something online, and then so I had this on in the background, and it was pleasant enough to have on in the background. But like I say, it didn't take me away. There was nothing too amazing about it, but nice enough to listen to, I'd say.
Yeah, I think pleasant is probably a better word to generally use for that. I totally agree. And it's the same thing you said there's put here. Very similar to the others. Again, just feels like a good, solid, good song to enjoy, listen to, and probably need to play comparison. If I maybe knew it as well as Watermelon Sugar, it might feel a bit differently. The other note I put here, like the song, like this one and some of the others, remind me a lot, because we didn't do that long ago, the Justin Timberlake album. Same sort of style of sort of singing and songs to them. However, I definitely prefer Harry Styles doing it, because obviously they're a lot shorter. They're not as experimental
doesn't drag on and some things there. But there was a lot of similarities I found with both of those.
Yeah, so next one was Lights Up. Don't have much to say on this one. I put, again, it kind of just passed me by. Again, it was listenable. That's about all I can say on it, really.
Yeah, so I've put here sort of a nice bit of this one here. His voice is obviously getting a little bit higher now in this one. I think we have him in a few other songs as well a bit later on. His high sort of more high pitched singing. This one maybe felt a bit more experimental, but not massively. And then the final bit is obviously, for me, out of the four so far, this is probably the slightly more boring one out of the four. So my probably least favourite, because they have been, even though they have been different, they are still quite similar at the same time. But at the same time, it wasn't a bad song at all.
Yeah, so in my introduction, I said there was what I liked about the album, that was that variety. So I think up to now, these first four songs, they have been relatively similar. But that changed with the next song, Cherry, where it had this country music start to it. I thought, okay, this is different. This was really interesting. And I quite like the style of this song. Probably the best song so far. And definitely feels different to the previous songs before it, due to its country feel. And then had a bit of a strange ending, because I thought the song had finished. I thought we'd move on to the next one, but then I realised we were still on the same song. It was something, I can't remember what it was, some sounds or talking was going on. But yeah, that was a good song, that one. Quite enjoyed that sort of country feel to it. Yeah, best so far.
Yeah, I agree. This would probably be somewhere in my sort of top sort of 3 or 4 potentially. I haven't actually counted through which ones I would do, but definitely like that. Definitely a different feel to it. Felt a bit different now. I put here sort of, and we hear it again a bit later on some other songs. I've got this image, sort of kind of being in like in a forest or woods or campsite. Just that had that sort of, it's really hard to explain, that kind of sort of relaxed ambience, then sort of a not the same country music kind of thing, but like being in the woods kind of thing. And as I said, found it really relaxing. As I would really like to go back and listen and just not have to overthink about it too much. And as you said there, yeah, we had this sort of towards the end, weird speaking and different noises coming in. I probably would have just said this felt like this could have been maybe like the last song of the album, and not like as a hidden track, but maybe just as an ending of the album. But yeah, really, really good. Bit of difference to have now on the album.
Yes, then we had Falling. So this was the song that I said that I knew from the reaction video we did of someone doing a cover version of this. So it's actually the first time you're hearing the original, Harry Styles' version. So I was quite looking forward to this one. And I think rightly so. Very emotional. Can really feel the emotion. Just feels very, very powerful. I just think it's a really good song. And the song is just all about Harry's voice and his emotion. So for me, this is the standout track on the album. So it didn't let me down after hearing doing that reaction we did of the cover version, which I remember I liked at the time. So yeah, I think it's a really, really good song. The only thing I would say, I'm not sure how often I would actually like to listen to this song. As much as I like the song, I know this sounds weird, because it's not, maybe you have to be in a certain mood to really listen to this. Maybe you have to be feeling a little bit sad, maybe. I don't know. Like, I can't explain it. It's not a song I particularly want to listen to too often.
No.
I don't know. Does that make sense?
It does. I'll try and help frame with that one there as well. You're absolutely right. Yeah, it's not. So it's not like a chart pop hit that you have and repeat and want to go over and over again. You do have to sort of be in the mood, a certain mood maybe, to enjoy and appreciate it. However, I think it is a song that, if you came back to every so often, you would enjoy. Because I always thought maybe actually it wasn't as good as being on the album, especially at the start of the album. I thought, well, actually, I know this song's coming up. It hasn't been like any of the other songs. Actually, is it going to now stick out and not be quite as good? But I felt like even listening to it now, I still appreciate it as much and feel like I can hear the lyrics more and more with that. And I used to say before, like, I thought maybe it should something that, get a bit more powerful and a change up towards the end, because it does stay pretty much the same throughout, which I think is what we said when we did the cover version review as well. But I actually think it doesn't need to do that. I think it's staying the same actually works.
Yeah, but
well.
you say staying the same, but what I like about this song is what it does. How can I explain it from what I remember of it? He starts singing and then he kind of goes quiet for a bit, and suddenly, what about like it suddenly goes up and it sort of hits that, I don't know, that sweet spot, and then it goes back down again, and then the chorus goes back up again. So that's what I like about it. It's got that moment where it really rises up, and where he uses his vocal skills. Even though I think I know what you mean. Like, it doesn't go up in the sense of speeding up or anything, or
in terms of sometimes with powerful ballads, they almost get more powerful at the end as well, and stay at that powerful level, whilst you say this almost goes up and then comes back down again. But as it goes up, it doesn't go any higher than it did, because you thought maybe get a bit more emotional, a bit more high. But it doesn't. It just goes as high as it did previously, if that makes sense. So my point was being, going higher than that and staying there and going beyond that. But I just said, it doesn't need that, and actually just that same up and down level works really well. I think you can still really feel the emotion from it right through to the end.
Mm-hmm. So I was intrigued by the next song before it even came on, because I just thought, like, what's going to follow? What's going to follow Falling? Because I thought, okay, we can't have it can't be one of the songs that we heard at the earlier on in the album, because that seems a little bit too, I don't know, kind of upbeat. It needs to somehow fit in, right? So the song was called To Be So Lonely, had this kind of Mexican instrumental start. That's what it sounded like to me. Interesting vocal start, very low key so far. And to be honest, I just felt this was pretty boring. I think a slow song had to follow Falling. But this just isn't the one for me. Didn't like it.
Yeah, I think maybe it suffers from, going after the song Falling, potentially. I did like the fact it was very different. I said, as you said, you've got Mexico, I put sort of Spanish guitar kind of feel. My key thing I actually put about Alex Barta, who we listened to a lot. I could just imagine him playing the guitar bit. That actually found like really good guitar work, and Harry sort of singing over that. And I felt like the two just didn't work together in a strange way. It just, it was, I think, as much as it was different, I say it wasn't too bad. It's my least favourite so far, probably on the album. But I still think it had potential. But I just think the guitar work and the singing just didn't work. And I think it unfortunately falls the fact that After Falling probably doesn't help. But I still stand it's a good, okay song for the album. And so you can't have everything being as good as each other. So, just unfortunate its position in the album. So
next up we had She. From memory, I think this is one of the long songs. Was it over 6 minutes?
Yeah.
So we're sort of seeing a change up now in the style. So the first few songs were kind of typical kind of pop songs in a way. And then we had Cherry, the country song. Then they had this Falling, which is completely different. And then She was, to me, was kind of similar to the previous song, track 7. It was another slow one, kind of like the previous song, and I just find this style boring, like the previous song. I just don't really get in. I like slow songs, but they have to have something about them, and to me, this one didn't.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. So this is very similar to a lot of the songs we had from his first album, I think. So I put it straight away. Pink Floyd feels straight. It almost feels like an actual cover of a Pink Floyd song. I know it's not. I don't know if they've sampled it from somewhere there, but definitely has that feel, that 70s sort of vibe, and that sort of slow, almost druggy-ish kind of thing. And even Pink Floyd throughout, there was a bit towards from like the middle to the end onwards where it's no singing, it's just guitar, piano sort of at the end. I really like this one, but I do like that kind of sort of genre of music as well. The only negative I'd say is it was actually quite difficult. Again, I know you're the same. Don't really take in the lyrics anyway, but I found it really hard to hear, not necessarily to understand the lyrics anymore, but even to actually hear what the lyrics actually were, apart from the word she. But it didn't stop me enjoying the song. It was just my sort of slight negative. So this is actually up there as one of the ones I like. But to start, but I totally get if you're not into that, then yeah, for a long song it can be a bit boring, a bit. Yeah, but for me, yeah, it's up there.
So next up was Sunflower Volume 6. So I don't know where we can find the previous 5 volumes, but okay. This was, to me, a strange song. I can't describe the style of this. I've just put listenable, but nothing more. So kind of a bit similar to the first 3 or 4 songs. Not similar so much in style, but just similar in my opinion in that listenable, but nothing special.
Yeah, I've kind of pretty much said the same. From the first idea, I'm not sure how I feel about this one. Again, it's not, and my quote line here, I didn't not like it, which I know is like 2 negatives, but and again with the style as well, I also struggled to put that sort of style. So the closest I got to that was writing 70s/80s reggae pop synth. Which
I was gonna put reggae, but I didn't.
And even reggae, it still doesn't. Like I said, it's not even reggae. It's not even pop. It's not even. I don't know. It's natural stuff there. But again, like I said, at least there's something a bit different with it. And obviously at the end we had this sort of weird animal noises and sounds there. So as I said there, didn't not like it. It's definitely one of the weaker songs on the album. But like I said, it's not enough to go, I hate this song, I don't want it to be on the album. It's just not as good as the others. Simple as that, yes.
So then we had Canyon Moon. This is, for me, like a kind of folk style, not like country folk, not like the other track we were talking about earlier, Cherry, just more sort of general folk. Found it a little bit catchy. Again, it's all right, but nothing special. And I think that's kind of the story of the album for me. A lot of listenable tracks, but nothing that sort of takes my breath away.
Yeah, so it's kind of going a bit sort of upbeat, but upbeat's not even the right word because it's still quite, it's not upbeat in the same way as we normally have it. I've generally put this as okay. There was my things for that one there. Country folk kind of sign of thing. I could just imagine Harry playing the guitar around a campfire. Not quite hippie-like, but that kind of sort of, it's just, because it is quite a sort of happy, dancey song, but in a really low-key way. So again, a bit like the similar song, okay, did not like it. It's just not, again, it's still with others, not as good as some others we've had already.
So the next track was Treat People with Kindness. It was a strange start with the women kind of like singing together. Again, not sure what to make of this one. It was upbeat and lively, that's for sure. That can't be argued with, unlike maybe some of the others, like track 7, track 8, which I thought were a little bit drab, boring. But I still didn't find anything special. Again, I suppose you could say it was listenable.
Yeah, as I say, some of them pretty much the album as well. I quite like the sort of female choir singing parts, which we had sort of during the start, and then I think they came back in sort of generally throughout, but then generally at the end as well. Not probably as good as the others, as I said, the other songs there. I put here also very much like sort of an Elton John kind of style feel to it as well. Where I love his songs, some of his songs where it was, sort of upbeat, as you said there, it's but it's not in a real catchy way. It's not like sort of too over the top. It's just middle of the road. As the others, did not like it. Good, solid album, song for the album. There's just other songs I generally prefer, but at least there was something different to it, and I did enjoy those elements to it.
Okay, I just realised I think I should have done this in a different way. 1 second. There we go. That's got a 50-50 screen. So, okay. The next one, then the last track was Fine Line, which is the name of the album as well. That might be the first time I've seen an album, the name of an album as the last track. Normally they're somewhere in the middle, from what I can remember. Okay. So a slow song to finish the album, which didn't surprise me. It's kind of what I would expect. I've described it as a kind of sleepy feeling type of song, not in a negative way. I think that's just the style of it. It did liven up a bit, but I just never really got into it. So yeah, not one of my favourites. This by any means.
Yeah, it's also one of the longer ones. So I did say it could be seen as a bit boring as well. But I actually really enjoyed this sort of, and I think the sleepiness does sort of make sense for the lovely ambience, kind of relaxed kind of feel, but still really enjoyable to listen to. Again, I put this sort of being in the sort of wilderness, forest, country side kind of feel to his life. And then I think about halfway through, it does sort of, again, doesn't get up, it's not upbeat, but the tempo goes a little bit faster there. And I thought it was actually an okay sort of for the last song of the album. And then I put line here, sort of the ending almost feels like a movie scene, like a winning a race or something in a movie. Just kind of had that sort of climax ending album kind of feel to it, but in a nice kind of way. And I think maybe it's one of those that kind of will grow on you, kind of want to go back and listen to it without having to try and think about it too much.
Yeah, so that's the end of our album review. We're just going to sum up now. So, yeah, Brett, you can begin.
Okay. Yeah, try and think back to what I said generally there at the start. So I said, even though without having any sort of standout, catchy, poppy songs on this was a real sort of enjoyable one to listen to. There wasn't any sort of awful songs on there. Yes, there were some songs I preferred over others, and I think I would really like to go back and listen to this, maybe in a random way of the songs, and just not have to overthink about it and just listen to it for what it is. I said if I was having playlists, there would be a couple that I would put on there from that. And as you said from the start as well, definitely preferred this second album to his first one. That's for sure.
Okay, so I will begin on the same note as you. So yeah, I definitely preferred this to the first one. I think the thing was, the difference between this album and that album for me in terms of my expectations was the first album I was expecting to like a lot more, because, you know, I didn't mind One Direction. Some of their songs were all right, and I kind of thought, okay, this could be interesting. But then it was something completely different. It was too psychedelic for me. So with this album, because of that first album that I didn't like, I kind of had low expectations for this one, where actually the album was better than I was expecting. So it's still, you know, you could see from as we went through the songs there, I wasn't like overly impressed by the songs really, apart from Falling. And I thought, yeah, like I said, Cherry was pretty good as well. So, yeah, it wasn't bad. I'm glad there was that one song, Falling, that I really like. And yeah, it was, like I've been saying pretty much the whole way through, it was listenable, for sure. There were a few disappointing ones on there. I think that after Falling, some of the songs, for me personally, were a bit boring. But generally, I like the variety. And yeah, it was a, you know, good enough album, and it wasn't too psychedelic, which was good. That's the most important thing for me. So we do have another Harry Styles album to review at some point. So looking forward to that, to see how, you know, if that can go up another level as well. Should be interesting. And yeah, that's it from us. So thank you for the request. And we'll look forward to seeing you again soon for the next one. Keep the requests coming as well. Bye-bye.